So for step one, we deconstructed the problem and we identified all the key information, circling it, double underlined the question, remembering that round your solution to the nearest whole number was important, and then we crossed out all unnecessary information. So the next thing involved identifying what we know and what we don't know, as well as researching information associated with the clue words. So using Gizmos, Khan Academy, YouTube, any other online resources we can find, or book resources we can find to help us better understand the key math words in the question. Just to recap again, the next thing that we looked at was the gizmo itself, and we started reviewing the research that we'd already done related to the circle, and we identified all the different features of the circle. We also talked about what exponent represents and what the terminology power means. So all of this was useful information required in background research before we started to develop our plan. And to wrap up step 3, so step 2 involved going through a whole bunch of the terminology, researching it, identifying the keywords. Once you've researched the keywords, then you had to identify the required calculations, but you also had to identify in step 3 the steps in the procedure. So here's an outline of some of the steps that you could complete. So you have to use what you know and what you don't know to create a plan for solving the problem. Notice that we haven't solved the problem at all. This is just a general plan. What's missing from this step 3 though?
The calculations?
We don't do calculations in step 3. Calculations belong in the solving portion. Yes?
Visualization.
Visualization? We should draw a picture. Now, what did you mean by the calculations? Do you mean actually doing them? Or just the equations? So just listing the equations. So what are some of the equations that we should include here? Hang on one second. Okay, so what are some of the equations that we should include in the calculation portion? Yes?
Pi times r, that little exponent 2, and then divided by 2.
And that would be area of a circle?
Area of a semicircle. But
Oh, I see. So you want pi r squared for area of a circle, and then you said divide that by 2. And that would give you the area of the semicircle.
yeah.
Okay? Are there any other equations we would need? Yes?
Area of rectangle equal length times width.
Anything else?
Then you have to add the 2 up. So like the rectangle and then the semicircle.
So we could call that area of a window equals area of a semicircle plus area of a rectangle. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've got some equations, and all of these equations are directly associated with the plan written up there too. But you'll notice we haven't solved anything yet. We have a general overview, and we still don't have a picture. But for step 3, we need to have some type of a visualization. Correct? So if you were to draw a picture, what might it look like? Would we need 1 picture, 2 pictures, something that would support the work itself? Okay, so window 1, let's say that's window 1, and let's call this one window 2. 1, 2. Good? Now what did you say we needed to do? Oh, sorry. I made a mistake. Why would we label them 1 and 2 when we're supposed to label them X and Y? And you said we have to draw something? Okay, so the semicircle must be drawn on the top of the longer side. So, is that correct? Or is that a problem?
Problem.
What's the problem?
Because it's supposed to be on. It's supposed to be on the side, like the shortest side of the rectangle, like the width. It says the longer side.
Does it say that or no?
It does, yeah, on the question.
I thought it was supposed to be like on the width, because the longer size.
Okay, now does that kind of work? Is that the longer side? Okay. So what I want you to imagine is that this is the window. That's the area of the whole window here. Okay? Just ignore this circle. I just put that in the way for now. But we would need the same kind of a circle on this window too. Right? But you'll notice that half of the circle is here. The other half of the circle kind of disappears. It becomes part of that rectangle. But we have to add the area of the circle, or of the half circle, plus the area of the rectangle. And that would give us the area of the window. Question, Mohammed?
It's not really a question. It's the way that you can actually, this is a good way to present it, because then you realize that, because at first I was kind of confused because I didn't know how to find the diameter. Then I remembered that the longer side will be the diameter. So if the longer side is, I don't remember the number, but if it's 10 centimeters, then the diameter is 10 centimeters. Because if you put the other half on, then that will cut.
So just to reiterate, you should be using your plan from step 3 to help you solve the problem in step 4. So if you look up on the screen, I know it's a little bit messy, but watch where I'm going to put the highlighter. Step 7, step 8. Did you include those steps in your plan? To double check all of your calculations? To compare your estimates to your calculations? Did you include an estimate in your plan? So you would estimate your answer, then you would double check all of your calculations, and then you would compare your estimate to your actual calculations and your double checks? And then you would write a description of the comparison, how far your estimate was from your actual, whether or not your double checks proved that your actual calculations were right. All of those would be required to justify your answer makes sense, right? All of that is considered step 5. Got it? So step 4 is to solve. Step 5 would involve the comparison of your solution. Your solution should technically include your estimate, your calculations, and then when you get to step 5, you start to double check. And then the finishing portion of step 5 would be to run your comparative analysis of your estimate, calculation, and then your double check. Step 6 is on Friday when we meet to discuss our solutions. Did everybody get that? So that means for Friday you must finish step 4 and step 5. You have to estimate, calculate, double check, comparatively analyze those 3, and write a final statement whether or not your answer makes sense. Then bring that to class Friday, and you're going to show someone else or a couple other students how you solved the problem. You may have done it differently than others, and that's okay. The whole point is, on Friday you need to try and learn a new way of solving the problem, or a new way of double checking, or a new way of estimating. Something different that you haven't done before. So when you're finished your solution, that's step 4. When you're done double checking estimating, calculating, and then you've described a cross comparison of all of that work, that's step 5. They need to be posted and attached to step 1, 2, 3, and 4, or 1, 2, and 3 from before. You turn all those in. Then, on Friday, we're going to be looking at each other's solutions. On Friday, you need to try and find a new way of solving the problem, a new way of applying a new technique in problem solving. So Ryan may learn a new way to estimate from Jotpreet. So he's going to look and see how she did it, then he's going to try and do it himself. Then he needs to take a snapshot of his work, attach it to step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and turn in 1 to 6 before the end of the day on Friday. Does everybody get that? Now you may find a new way of estimating, you may find a new way of calculating the solution. You might find a new way of explaining the description associated with comparing estimate, calculation, double check. Whatever you find that's new, you have to test it and try it yourself. Okay?
So you have to remember to give appropriate credit.
Yes, as we learned in what?
Digital passport.
Mix and match digital passport. You have to give credit to the owner. So if someone else gave you an idea about how to estimate differently,
You can't say it's yours. Or
Right.
Or even if you don't say it's yours, but you post it, then that's still wrong because you have to like give appropriate credit.
so credit someone else who gave you the idea. Show your work, not their work. Show your work in attempting to try and copy or learn the technique that they've done. And then attach that to step 6 of your work.
Because we're trying to learn from each other.
You got it. Question?
Can you submit step 1 to 5 and then 6 separately on Friday?
You got it. Before the end of the day. That's right. Because we're going to have time in class on Friday to work on step 6. And I'd like you to post it when you're finished. Okay?
Post steps separately.
You attach it to 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Meaning you may end up having more than one turn in, which is fine. You just keep resubmitting as you keep adding new steps to your work.
Can I
Everything is turned into the same turn in section.